leads 11-9, 7:26 to play fourth quarter.
And with both offenses continuing to find twine, it was only a matter of time before Jimmy McCool had another signature moment in the late stages.
Up top, Johnson. Dodges right, Lyons a shot, no good, turned away, McCool fighting for it behind, and he gets it for Syracuse. 3:45 to play.
And that would be the dagger inside the dome. It took a complete team effort, but for the first time since 2009, the Orange took down the Terrapins.
John Tillman, 8-0 against Gary Gate. No more. Gate finally gets the best of Tillman, 11-9 the final.
The number one team goes down, and a statement win for the Orange to continue SU's dream to start the regular season and move all the way to the promised land in Memorial Weekend over in May. And how about that? Revenging the loss. In Memorial Weekend, Maryland ended Syracuse's season in 2025. Here in 2026, Syracuse gets the better of the Terrapins in a narrow 11-9 victory. Wrapping up Orange Overtime here, it's your host, Drew Alba. Our next broadcast is a basketball broadcast. That team still got a little bit more work to do, of course. Tomorrow, Valentine's Day, so you go from Friday the 13th, and now you got to bring your date to the Dome to play Syracuse and SMU. That should be a good one. McClure Remodeling countdown to tip-off is at 1:30. Game time is set for 2. Our next lacrosse broadcast is just over a week ago today, Saturday, February 21st. Number 2 Syracuse at number 12 Harvard. Another rematch of the NCAA tournament. McClure Remodeling countdown to face-off is at 12:30 from Harvard. Game time is set for 1. A few thank yous to hand out before we wrap things up here on Orange Overtime. John Baccio, our producer, thanks so much. Dan Papillo, pressing all the right buttons at the engineer board. Josh Rothert on radio replay. And, of course, everybody on the WAER sports desk. We cannot do it without you. This whole broadcast would not run. Syracuse takes down Maryland 11-9. Number 2 Orange over number 1 Terrapins. How about it? All right, this is just about it for me, Drew Alba, but they still got some time to keep it here on 88.3 up until 9:30, so just about an hour on the double overtime. Feel free to call in, 315-443-2011. Griffin Bloomstein and Timmy Weiss, I'm sure, would love to take your calls at 315-443-2011. Griffin, Timmy, my goodness, exclamation point here in game number 3 for the Orange.
Syracuse men's lacrosse is back in its rightful place atop the lacrosse world. The mission might still be 3 months from completion, but they took a serious step tonight. Number 2 Syracuse takes down number 1 Maryland 11-9.
Can you believe it? The streak is finally over. The first time since 2009 that Syracuse takes down Maryland, and they did it in dramatic fashion. It wasn't easy, but they got it done.
4 goals from Joey Spallina, clutch plays down the stretch from Jimmy McCool. We'll have our reporter Ben Chadwick, who's inside the Dome. He'll join us later. But it's the double overtime on WAER. Let's roll.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER rolls on. We're breaking down all the highs.
Pass in front, working through traffic. Hiltz ends it! Pure elation in the JMA Wireless Dome. Owen Hiltz, catch, shoot, score, and advance.
The shot wide. Eric Bolivar missed the target. The ball trickles out of bounds. And Syracuse holds on 9-8. It's all over, and for the first time in 9 years, Syracuse is the last team standing in the ACC.
And the lows.
For the first time in program history, Harvard hands Syracuse a loss. The Crimson crawl back from the jaws of defeat.
Syracuse, with its closest shot at a championship in over a decade, gets sent home after a 14-8 loss to the Terrapins in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament.
While bringing you the hottest takes along the way.
You need to stick to your basics on offense. If you get an open look, fire it. You don't have to do a little razzle-dazzle. You don't have to do a spin. Just shoot it. Games like that, you're not going to get a Jimmy McCool 18 safe performance every time. You're not going to get these bad turnovers that Syracuse calls. Like 6 calls turnovers isn't going to happen in every single contest, and you can't sort of rely on that. It's going to be really difficult to get that sort of production every game without a response.
There was a calming sense around this team, and that's what you want from a top team who has championship aspirations. You have to know how to close out games like we've been preaching nonstop, and they did that. This is where teams separate themselves from the okay teams to the great teams, and Syracuse did that today. It's plain and simple.
Get your voice heard by calling 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube and X at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Welcome into the double overtime on WAER.org and 88.3 FM. I'm Griffin Bloomstein. I'm here with my partner, Timmy Weiss. Syracuse takes down top-ranked Maryland 11-9 inside the Dome. If you want to get your voice heard, are you a believer in the Syracuse men's lacrosse team? You can call in 315-443-2011. Again, 315-443-2011. You can also check out our live streams on YouTube, Twitter, at WAER Sports Talk. Timmy, wow, what a game. They did it. They actually did it.
They actually did it. Can you believe it? I mean, you just said, are you a believer? And right now, what's there not to believe in? You just beat the best. And to be the best, you need to beat the best.
Okay, we're already getting into cliches.
I mean, I'm just saying, Griffin, this team looked fantastic. They didn't look fantastic the entire way.
Sure.
There were stretches where they weren't at their best.
But it doesn't matter.
They won.
They won.
And yeah, against the number 1 team in the country, you're not expected to have a full game domination performance. All that matters is that you win the game.
At the end of the day, when people look back on this season, one of the defining moments will be that Syracuse beat Maryland.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how hard it was. It doesn't matter how easy it was. It doesn't matter that it was in front of 10,000 fans inside the Dome. Syracuse beat Maryland.
That was the curse. That was the one thing for Syracuse men's lacrosse that you couldn't get over the hump.
2009 was the last time they beat them.
2009. And in this John Tillman era of Maryland where the Terrapins were 8-0 against Syracuse, Syracuse did not have an answer to beat this Terrapins team. And every year that you thought Syracuse would get over the hump, last year when it was like, okay, in the regular season, I think Syracuse is going to pull this one out. They were favored at Maryland, couldn't do it. In the semifinals of the NCAA tournament,
it wasn't particularly close.
Maybe a different story with Maryland being the favorite, but they were blown out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close.
It's different. John Tillman is one of the best lacrosse coaches of all time. Syracuse has never, until today, beaten a head-coached John Tillman team. The last time they beat a John Tillman coach team was 2004 when he was an assistant coach at Navy in the NCAA tournament, this championship.
Crazy. I don't know if we were even born yet, Griffin, at that point. It's crazy how it's been
true.
that long for Syracuse to beat this Tillman squad. And it just, for me, Griffin, it really came down to the defense, especially in the end of that game. I thought the defense was absolutely fantastic in the fourth quarter, preventing some of the best goal scorers in the entire nation to just 2 goals in that fourth quarter. It was fantastic, really.
Spanos only had 2. Leo Johnson only had 2. Brandon Erksa only had 2 goals. These are guys that are all All-Americans, that are all Tewaaraton nominees. These are some of the best attackmen and midfielders in the country. And you got to give credit, a lot of credit, to Riley Figueres, Chuck Kaczynski, Billy Dwan, Jimmy McCool. I could name a list of names. But a guy that really doesn't get the credit he deserves is Riley Figueres.
Yeah.
Billy Dwan is the big name. Billy Dwan is the All-American. Was the big name next to Joey in that recruiting class defensively. But Riley Figueres is on par, if not better than Billy Dwan.
I
He's
think
the
that's
1A,
totally
1B.
fair. I think that's totally fair to say at this point in the season. And you've seen it in the first 2 games against competition that wasn't as good, obviously. But you saw his talent. You saw how much he locked the offensive players up. That only continued today, and it was clear that Riley Figueres, even though he's not as big as Billy Dwan, he's not as intimidating as he is on the field, he is absolutely one of the best defenders
he's a silent
in the
killer.
nation. You can't deny it.
And then it's Jimmy McCool. He dealt with a little bit of adversity. Maryland knew that to attack Jimmy McCool, you have to go low. That's been Jimmy McCool's weak spot the past 2 years starting. Today, it was clear early that Maryland wanted to attack Jimmy McCool at his knees, bouncer shots. But every single time towards the stretch, it was the composure that you necessarily did not see in that game last year against Maryland in the semifinals. What are your thoughts on Jimmy McCool's play? Did he really provide this spark for Syracuse? Call in 315-443-2011. It's not necessarily always going to be the Jimmy McCool show, and it was certainly the Jimmy McCool show against St. Joseph's. And today, every player had their moment, but it was really down the stretch when Syracuse took that shot clock violation with under 90 seconds to play.
And it had to be Jimmy McCool at the end as well. We talked about the defense a bit, and you're mentioning Jimmy McCool, but he really did show up down the stretch.
He did.
He made the big stops when he needed to, and it was awesome to see. Because last year against Maryland, he actually didn't have the chance to make a stop like that because Syracuse was already out of the game in both of the contests. So it was kind of like an unknown thing. Is he going to show up in the big time? And honestly, whenever he is in moments like that, I think you can say Jimmy McCool
He was cool.
is a
calm and
clutch.
McCool, calm and collected.
He's a clutch player.
That's
I
his new
think
nickname.
that you have to make that case at this point. When in the NCAA tournament in the quarterfinals last year, he was clutch against Princeton, and in other close games last season, he was great. And now against Maryland, when he needed to be against the best team in the country, he was that guy.
There's definitely been ebbs and flows in McCool's career. That Princeton game, he had some big saves, but again, they did allow 18 goals. Maryland, it didn't go his way. Now, this game is the biggest win under head coach Gary Gait for Syracuse men's lacrosse. You beat the top-ranked team. Syracuse next week is going to be the number 1 team in the country. That is for sure. You have to think about the reason why Syracuse actually won. You can put it on the defense, but it really falls on one person. Who took a step up? Who took the lead for this team? And it's number 22, Joey Spallina. You can put so much on everyone else, but you can only put so much on one guy and one guy only to actually carry this team. And oh boy, did Joey Spallina carry this team at the start of the game. Oh boy, did Joey Spallina look like the best player on the lacrosse field. Oh boy, did Joey Spallina look like the best player in the country today.
He did. Griffin, I mean, this guy, he is the best player in the country. There's no question about it anymore. He is.
4 goals. He probably got a couple assists that will show up in the stat sheet tomorrow. Where are those doubters for Joey Spallina? Where are they? Call in 315-443-2011. I want to hear the doubters. Because if there are, then you're crazy.
Griffin, I think you might not get any callers here because how can you be a doubter of Joey Spallina after this game right here?
Please.
His level was absolutely off the charts.
I dare you. And if you want to sing his praise, you can also call it. I only don't want doubters.
I mean,
Joey Spallina was insane today. He was insane. He's had so much pressure. When he after that Princeton game in the quarterfinals last season, he said, "Yeah, I can show up in the big games." And then Maryland, he kind of shied away. Today it's different. When you have 3 goals in the first half, when you have a fourth in a time where Syracuse kind of went quiet in that third quarter, Joey Spallina stepped up. That's what the best players do. That's what the best people do. And we have a caller, Matt in Syracuse. Please tell me, Matt, you want to talk about Joey Spallina.
I thought he was a stud tonight.
Yeah, that's the word I would use.
He didn't force anything. He passed it. The movement on offense was outstanding. They had 2 unforced errors: the offsides, and then the pass to Joey where it was a wide pass where he took his eye off it. I mean, short of that, they almost played flawlessly.
And you have to play flawlessly against a John Tillman coach squad. Is there anything else that you saw in this game?
Look, the goalie was good. The goalie was good because the defenders were outstanding.
Yeah.
They didn't give Maryland an inch.
They were
I didn't look
fantastic.
at the stats. I don't know how many stats he had, how many saves he had. I'm not sure why you're talking about him so much. But, look, he was good. But he was good because his defenders were just locked down. They were disciplined. They were sliding. It was textbook.
And that's
textbook.
that's the thing about this Syracuse team that you can't deny. They might just have the best defense in the entire country. With Riley Figueres and Billy DeJuan, those are 2 of the best long poles in the country. There's no doubt about that. And
hey, one other thing about being number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but they have a hellacious schedule.
Yeah, it's true.
Super tough.
And being number 1 this week, it's fun. It's cool. We're going to enjoy it. But, oh, my God, they go on the road for, 6 straight games?
Yeah,
6
it's
straight.
a while. Matt, I got one more thing for you. Do you think this is the team? It's been a while, Matt. It's been a while since Syracuse men's lacrosse actually held up that trophy, the one that actually means everything. Do you think this game?
I think it might be because I think, look, Gary Gates got swagger.
He does.
He's the Western Canada. He's the Gate brother. He's Eric Gate. He's got the swagger. The guys need a coach with swagger, and he won. And I think they've been building, and I think this could be the year. I really do. 2009, we're going to put a new banner up.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the call. If you want to be like Matt, call in, talk some ball with us, you can do so. 315-443-2011. That's the number. Get your voice heard. Join the show. The phone lines will be open throughout. We mentioned the last time Syracuse beat Maryland, 2009. What also happened that year?
Oh, I might have an idea, Griffin.
The last time Syracuse won the national championship.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
2009.
It's almost a funny coincidence that was the year they won the national championship. I don't know. Is it a sign? I think it could be. We'll see. Obviously, a lot of time left this season. A lot of uncertainty. You never know what's going to happen in a season. You never know if guys are going to get injured, so you can't get ahead of yourself.
I'll do you one better. How about before that? The last time Syracuse beat Maryland before 2009. 1995. What also happened that year?
I'm going to guess a national championship.
A national championship. How about the year before that? Well, not the year before that, but the time before that. 1989 was the previous time that Syracuse beat Maryland. What also happened in 1989?
Let's say another national championship, I hope.
Another national championship.
It's crazy.
Oh, wait, hold on. One more time. The time the Syracuse beat Maryland before that, 1983. What happened that year?
National championship.
Syracuse won the national championship. The last 4 years that Syracuse has beaten Maryland, Syracuse has won a national championship.
I mean, we'll see. This season, every season is different.
True.
So I want to go with caution on we don't know what's going to happen. But at the pace right now, with how this team looks, with how they look today, with how they look at their best, yes, it is trending that direction. I want to caution it because I know there's so much of the season left. And that's a great point by Matt, the schedule and how tough it is. It is that tough.
And we'll get to that. I want to go back to Joey Spallina for a second. What he was doing, like he went up against a guy in Will Schaller that has given him troubles the past numerous times that they've matched up.
Named the best defender in all of college lacrosse as well.
And I think what Syracuse did, a lot of credit to offensive coordinator Pat March. They had screens with Joey. They got switches onto Joey. There was times, one of Joey's goals, his third, Joey was wide open. You cannot leave Joey Spallina wide open on the lacrosse field.
That shocked me. That was the one thing I was very surprised of, is that there was any time Joey Spallina was wide open. But the other times he was not wide open. And the other times, John Tillman did bring the game plan to defend Spallina, but this time his game plan did not work because Spallina was better than that. He would have twists and turns and angled shots. One of those shots he had through the legs of the goalie on Maryland, it was fantastic. From a crazy angle, just gets it through the legs of the goalie, and I was just so impressed with his aim and his attention to detail on the field today. He was just at a different level we haven't seen Joey Spallina at.
There's not a lot that Rupel could do if Joey Spallina is on his game. And Will Schaller had...
Or any goalie in the country,
True.
Really.
I would say outside of Logan McNaney, who was on the sidelines for Maryland.
Who is graduated, of course.
Really, really good goalie for the last couple of years for Maryland. I looked at Will Schaller. He had zero caused turnovers.
Wow.
And that is something that did not happen in that semifinal game against Syracuse. It did not happen in the regular season game against Syracuse. Both Syracuse lost, obviously.
And that's what Gary Gait talked about last year after the loss against Maryland. He said it was so many small things, the turnovers, the missed passes, the missed shots, not those attention to detail things. And that's why I thought Syracuse won the game today, is because they were paying attention to the little things. And that made the difference to get them over the hump against a Maryland team that you can't make the little mistakes against, because they will make you pay if you do.
They will. And I want to talk about some other offensive players as well. Michael Leo, we were talking about him. Michael Leo, Luke Roa, and Finn Thompson were kind of quiet early on. And then that third quarter came when Syracuse battled adversity, when Maryland kind of got on their high horse and was taking advantage. Kind of looked like it was going to be a close game. Syracuse got it down to a 1-goal lead. It was 8-7 with 9 minutes left. And then Michael Leo showed a lot of emotion. He scored and he threw his stick. Now, in women's lacrosse, you're required to throw your stick after every goal.
Exactly.
Men's lacrosse, you're not. But Michael Leo did it. He showed fight. He showed adversity that he could battle.
Yeah, and that one goal he scored the first 2 goals of the third quarter, which was huge for Syracuse. But that second one he scored, surrounded by defenders, spins away and fires it into the back of the net. I love watching him play. He is just really fun and just really good at creating an open look and creating something from nothing. And that's why it's so nice to have a guy like him on your team if you're Syracuse.
What impressed you the most of Syracuse today? 11-9 win over Maryland, beating the top team in the country. Call in 315-443-2011. Syracuse finally took down Maryland. Since 2009, they've been trying, and they finally get it done. I think one aspect of the game that went really, really well at the beginning, and we have to touch on because it almost caused Maryland to jump back in it, was Johnny Mullen at the faceoff X.
It was. And that beginning of the game, he was almost perfect. Literally unstoppable.
9 for 10 he started.
9 for 10. It's awesome.
A good Fogo is 65. That's a really good Fogo, 65.
And that is
really
why good. Syracuse jumped out to such a strong lead in this game. They were up 6-2 early on in that second quarter. It looked like for a second that Syracuse might just run away with the game. But like you mentioned, you have to put some caution on the face-off part, because after that, he did have a drop-off.
Yeah, he missed 8 in a row.
8 in a row.
And that's a lot to mistake. And credit to Syracuse defense. Like that 8 stretch where you lose 8 face-offs in a row can really hurt, especially if the other team gets a couple goals.
It was scary.
Plays make it
for
take
a second,
across.
Griffin, I was a bit scared for Syracuse because they looked like they were dropping their level at the beginning of that second half. It got a little closer. The team didn't look as strong, and there was a part of that because of the faceoffs.
Skippy from Manlius is on the phone lines, wants to talk about the big win for Syracuse. Skippy, what you got?
Oh, I'm just so excited about it.
I mean, what's not to be excited about?
Think back to that comeback they had against Yale last year, and how bad they looked in that game, and how much better they look now. Big test today. The defense looks so much better. I just think that they have aspirations to probably make it to the final this year. I think it's probably, yeah.
Was there a specific player or moment in this game where you were like, okay, yeah, Syracuse has it?
Oh, well, you know what? I did notice they have a bit of the – I mean, I think because they've lost so many times to Maryland in recent years, as you guys talked about, they have a chip on their shoulder. And there was a moment, and I don't know if you guys saw it, that Spallina got checked, and he came to the sideline at a sub, and he was so mad, and he like – I don't know if you guys saw this. He laid into the guy on Maryland on the sideline.
I didn't catch that. But
yeah, you have to look back on it. I think it was second quarter, and he basically, I mean, they were standing on the sideline, and he gave him a little bit of an elbow, you know. And it was like
it almost
they played with such tenacity and so much physicality today that it makes me think that they are on a different level this year. I really think they are. I think they're really dialed in, and they're playing a much more physical game too. And just the execution was so crisp. They had so many. They didn't take stupid shots. They didn't draw a lot of bad fouls, and they were patient. And the defense just looks so much better. I think they're going places.
Skippy, it almost seems like to me that the intensity level of this Syracuse team was at a different level than I've seen them in the past year, 2 years, 3 years. They were just so intense out there. And that's what you mentioned with that Joey Spallina. Would you agree that the intensity level was next level?
I think so. And you know what? And I just want to sing our own praises in Central New York in terms of putting 10,000 people in the Dome on a frosty Friday night to go. And no place in the country can, appreciates and supports lacrosse like Syracuse does.
Skippy.
And it was awesome to be out there, to see that game. And it was just felt really good, just for the program, for the team. And, it's a drag that they're going to be gone for 6 games. I mean, that's going to be tough not to see this team again for that long. But, we'll see what happens, and it's a tough schedule, so we'll see.
Yeah, very good point. Skippy, how long have you been a Syracuse lacrosse fan?
Since I was very young. I mean, I remember the Gate brothers, and the Powells, and, a good friend of mine played on the 09 team, 08 team, and I used to go watch them play in Maryland all the time when I was living down there. I'd go see them play at M&T Bank Stadium. I'd see them play at Homewood at JHU. I'd go see them play in Loyola. I supported the team even outside of Syracuse, and, I've seen a lot of these teams, and this one looks good. I really think they're going places.
This team reminds you of some of those teams?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's a different team, obviously, and it's, under different leadership, but, I mean, they just have, a bit of a chip on their shoulder about, I think, they really want to go for it this year. It's really one of those years. I think it's one of those years.
Thanks, Skippy. Really appreciate the call. It is one of those years. This team has that it factor. This team has that championship mentality of the teams that win it. There's a lot to like about this team, and we have a lot more to cover on the double overtime. We'll be back. If you want to call in, you can do so right after this break. It's double overtime on WAER. Don't go anywhere.
WAER's weekly e-newsletter is back, and it's keeping you in the loop.
Get the week's top news, Syracuse sports, new podcast drops, and events happening around Central New York all in one quick read.
Subscribe to get this week's top stories, new podcast episodes, and more in one convenient place, sent every Friday.
WAER's weekly e-newsletter, In the Loop, is sent straight to your inbox every Friday.
Sign up to receive our refreshed and redesigned e-newsletter, In the Loop.
Stay informed, stay connected, and stay in the loop
on WAER.org.
You can think of the World Cafe as the greatest playlist you never have to worry about making. You'll hear artists you know and love next to exciting new bands you might fall in love with from all different genres. Plus, in-depth interviews with musicians from all across the musical spectrum. There's no algorithm behind it, just real human beings. Join me, Raina Duras, on the next World Cafe.
Saturday afternoons at 1 o'clock on 88.3 WAER, your local NPR station from the Newhouse School at Syracuse University.
An author from Cameroon was exiled from his home country for criticizing its longtime ruler, but he doesn't embrace the label of dissident.
I don't know if I consider myself a dissident. I simply consider myself a person, because it will give too much honor, really, to a tyranny.
His memoir is about growing up in Cameroon, the That's next time on The World.
Today from 3 to 4 on 88.3 WAER.
Spallina, GLE, near side, his shot. Oh man, that's pretty. Joey Spallina sneaks it in the bottom left corner past Brian Ruppel. That's a hat trick for Joey Spallina.
Welcome back into the double overtime, where Syracuse has taken down the number 1 team in the nation, Maryland, 11-9. The streak is over finally. Can you believe it? Syracuse taking down Maryland. I'm your host, Timmy Weiss, alongside Griffin Bloomstein as well. Please call us in, 315-443-2011. You can also interact with our Twitter at WAER Sports Talk to interact with us. And we have another caller in who wants to talk to us from Mattingdale. Hey, what do you got for us?
All right, guys, thrilling victory. So on Friday the 13th, unlucky for Maryland. So if you're number 2 and you beat number 1, doesn't that mean you're going to be 1 in the polls next week?
Oh, yeah.
I would assume so.
That's what it sounds
I'd say
like.
so. When's the last time a Syracuse team's been number 1? I don't know. The soccer team that won the championship, I don't know if that's the last one or
Women's
not
lacrosse
sure.
2023, Week 10. They were number 1. They went on a big winning streak, started undefeated, but it's been a while.
Still almost 2.5 years, so a long time, really.
Mm-hmm.
What did you take away?
You know, I just enjoyed it. 'Cause, you know, like you said, 2009, that's a long time to wait, you know, to beat this team from Maryland there. But we got it done. And, you know, like you mentioned there, that span there, we lost 8 straight faceoffs. So, you know, thankfully our goalie and our defense, they stood firm until we could get some more goal scoring.
Mike, was it really the defense for you today that stood out, or was it something else?
Just the whole team, really.
And
you know, like if we're losing faceoffs, try to score, play good defense. You know, because you need all facets: scoring, defense, and faceoff. You need everything. You know, and
Mike,
it's just a great team victory.
I asked our last caller this. I want to ask you, how long have you been a Syracuse lacrosse fan?
I've been a Syracuse lacrosse fan since 1983, the first championship.
Love that, Mike. Love
Brad
that.
it's Mark and Matey, though.
Mark. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah. Brad Kotz, Tim Nelson, all those guys. We got our first championship.
They were special. What is it about this team that kind of reminds you of those teams? And do you think this team has like that it factor?
Yeah, well, you know, if you're strong everywhere, offense, defense, face-offs, you know, if you don't have a major weakness, you're harder to beat. You just got to, you know, also you want to limit your turnovers and penalties, you know. But we've been lucky, like those years with the championships. We just put it all together. It's going to be 1 now, but we want to be 1 in May. That's when you want to be 1.
Absolutely, Mark. Thanks so much for the call. And that's the thing we are touching on here is that the Syracuse team doesn't really have a weakness right now. And when you go back to last season, Griffin, that was not the case. There were weaknesses of this team.
I wouldn't call them weaknesses. I would call them developments that fully hadn't developed.
Yeah, that's
and now you see this team as fully developed. There is a strong face-off presence. And even if this is Johnny Mullen's worst game at the face-off X, he still went above 500. He was going against one of the best face-off guys in the country at Henry Dodge. There's probably only one better than either of them, and that's Brady Wambach with UNC. But the offense is complete. The defense is special. That's been proven. The midfield was kind of the question mark, but that's been settled. You have Wyatt Hoddle playing both sides, and he was terrific with 2 goals and assists. The goaltending has been very, very good. There's not really a weakness to this team.
That's what I'm getting at. I can't pick one out. When I look around this team and I watch a game, I just can't see something that I'm like, yes, this is a problem. It just hasn't happened yet. The only thing I could say today, maybe, is that they dropped their level a bit in the second half compared to times in the first half. But I don't even know if that's a weakness. It's just you're playing the number one team in the country, Maryland. You're bound not to play a full 40 minutes of perfect lacrosse.
That's a great way to put it. When you go up against a John Tillman coach squad, the halftime adjustments are going to be there from the opposing team. So it's always, that third quarter is always going to be a little bit of a struggle. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to fight adversity because that halftime speech in the locker room by Coach Tillman is going to be very, very strong. And Syracuse weathered the storm. That was the most important fault.
Exactly, right. When they were going on a run, Maryland, briefly going on that first 2 goals of the third quarter, or 3-1 start to that third quarter for Maryland. Syracuse was looking in trouble a bit, and then they pulled it back. Michael Leo scores 2, Joey Spallina scores 1, and all of a sudden, you right the ship, and you didn't sail to victory, but you got the job done.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for. And for me, Griffin, I just want to ask you, I mean, how much better do you think this team is than last year?
It's an interesting conversation because Sam English was such a big piece.
And Owen Hiltz.
It's replaced by committee with these guys, where Wyatt Hoddle is playing a bunch of positions. Michael Leo can play the midfield and play the attack. So when you have guys that can do that, yes, this team is better than last year. Part of that is because there's no CJ Kirst, no Logan McNaney. So you have a little bit of a lower competition, and every single guy is getting better. Yes, on par, this team is better than last year's team. How much? I don't know. It's difficult to say because they're only 3 games in. Obviously, last year's team had 2 chances to beat Maryland and didn't. So, yeah, this team is better. How much? Only time will tell.
Fair to say. I think that's where we're getting at, is because we are so early on in this season. It's totally fair to say. But right now, you can't deny it that Syracuse has to be the national championship favorite. After this game today, there's no debating it in my mind. I know Princeton is very good. And that's going to be a really tough game when you go at Princeton. Exactly. So you don't know.
They lost Coulter Mackesy, who is their best player by far. So when you have a team like Princeton, where there's a lot of question marks, these Ivies haven't played any games yet.
Yes, and that's what Syracuse has finally proved. Big game, big time, in the Dome. Your curse, you beat Maryland. It was awesome in the Dome, 11-9. Syracuse takes it over Maryland. Well, we're up against a quick break here on the double overtime, but when we come back, we've got our reporter, Ben Shawick, who was at the Dome today to talk to us a lot more about this one.
On the next snap, prepare to catch a fever when you're kissing, a fever when you're holding tight, fever in the morning, and fever all through the night. We begin the new Snap Fever series, How Will I Know? Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
The Ostrom Avenue Podcast, breaking down Syracuse athletics.
The students rush the field. The Orange are bowl eligible and 6-0 for just the 3rd time in the last 87 years.
And interviewing the industry's experts.
We are now joined by a very special guest. It's Emily Leiker of Syracuse.com.
Check out video interviews on YouTube at Ostrom Avenue Podcast and weekly episodes on WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the next Putumayo World Music Hour,
we'll introduce some music from parts of the world you don't hear much about, like Suriname, Burkina Faso, and New Caledonia. I'm Dan Storper.
And I'm Rosalie Howard. Join us for Where in the World, the next Putumayo World Music Hour.
Sunday night at 11 on WAER.
Has space in the middle, shot low and a goal. Michael Leo looks towards the dome ceiling and lets out a scream. The goal horn sounds, and Syracuse adds just a little bit of extra cushion.
That was Nick Evans on the call. Syracuse takes down top-ranked Maryland 11-9 inside the Dome. Welcome back into the double overtime on WAER.org, on WAER 88.3 FM. Wow, what a game. Syracuse.
Wow.
11-9. I'm Griffin Bloomstein. I got Timmy Weiss across the table from me. We got Ben Chadwick from the Dome. Ben, a great game. Syracuse gets the job done. But, what was the crowd like? I heard 10,000 plus fans. Well, first of all, how are you doing? And then how's that crowd?
Well, thank you so much, Griffin. I'm doing fantastic. I know all of our audience are very concerned about that. But no, man, the crowd was absolutely electric here in the Dome today. And, I don't want to allude to anything else, but it's been quite some time since I've heard a Dome crowd that loud, right? It has been a long, long time for a crowd to be this energized, this electric. It was a fantastic atmosphere, and boy, oh boy, were they rewarded in the end.
And Ben, you were at the game on Wednesday for Syracuse against California men's basketball. So what was the difference between the crowd today versus that?
Let me take a guess. It's almost like a team having a winning mindset.
Well, the main difference, I would say, is that all the video boards are working and are still working in the Dome right now. So that was a pretty key difference from those two games. Obviously, the power outage in the Cal men's basketball game. But both of them were electric, right? The Cal game because it was a double overtime game, and this one because it doesn't get any better. It's number 1 versus number 2, a 2-goal game at the end of it, where the number 2 team knocks off the number 1 team. So those are two incredible games. The Dome has seen some incredible games in the past couple of days, but like I said, nothing beats the crowd I heard today in the past few months from what I've seen or heard from Syracuse fans.
Number 2, Syracuse takes down number 1, Maryland, 11-9 inside the Dome. You're listening to the double overtime on WAER. Join the conversation. You want to ask Ben a question? He was in the Dome. 315-443-2011 here on WAER Syracuse. It was a great game for Syracuse. Was there anything that Coach Tillman said? You were at that Coach Tillman press conference after the game.
Right.
Was there anything that he said specifically about Syracuse? And, did he give Syracuse credit? Did he kind of say that Maryland could have done better? What was it about?
Yeah, it's always going to be a mixture of both with many coaches. But one thing I will emphasize, like you said, did he give Syracuse credit? That's pretty much all he did in this game.
Wow.
He even referenced them multiple times as the number 1 team in the country. Right, that's the type of humility he had after this game. He knew that this was a game between the top 2 teams in the country. Obviously, with the end result, his team lost. So the entire press conference, he called when he referred to Syracuse, he called them the number 1 team in the country more than he said the words Syracuse or SU or Cuse or Orange. Right, he really gave them their flowers after this game. So all the credit was given to Syracuse. And when he talked about his team, he said, "Hey, we have so many new guys, and we were right there with the number 1 team in the country." Like I mentioned, he kept calling them that. So yeah, he brought up different things, little things for his team, as any coach would. But the main thing that I was really interested in was him constantly calling Syracuse the number 1 team in the United States.
Wow. I think that tells you everything you need to hear is when John Tillman, the best coach in college lacrosse, is calling you the number 1 team, that means a lot. And Ben, I just wanted to ask, did he allude to anything in the future of possibly a rematch with Syracuse if they end up playing in the NCAA tournament?
Well, one thing he did reference was, first of all, he referenced last year's semifinal, but he referenced this game being in early to mid-February, right? And he said that he comes away with so many more positives and a much bigger smile on his face than he would if this was a game in the playoffs, right, later on in the season. So he mentioned that as being a key factor in having this really, really great game early on in the year in order to build off of it later. And he mentioned that Syracuse is going to make a long run, and we hope to match up with them later on in the future. He never said we're going to play them in the championship. He never said specifics like that, but me, you, and you two both can assume, and all of our callers can assume, and our listeners, that these 2 teams are probably the best 2 teams, if not 2 of the 3 best teams in the country, and have pretty solid odds to be the NCAA championship matchup in a couple months from now.
I would not be surprised if this is a team that Syracuse faces in the tournament in any sense, whether it's in that championship game or in semifinals, quarterfinals, whatever it is. The callers want to talk about Joey Spallina. You can do that as well if you want to call in. 315-443-2011. Ben, you got a first-hand look at that Schaller-Spallina matchup. We talked about it in our pregame video posted on WAR Sports Talk on X. What did that matchup actually look like in person?
Man, it was electric, right? I know we talked about it pregame and how it was. Look, if you go by Inside Lacrosse and take that as gospel, this was the number 1 team and the number 2 team in the country, of course. It was also the number 1 player and the number 2 player in the country going at it head-to-head on the same side of the ball. Joey Spallina heading into the year was Inside Lacrosse's number 1 player in the nation, and Will Schaller was their number 2 player in the nation, so that means that number 1 attacker and number 1 defenseman. And look, I mean, Spallina got the better of him. I'm sure you guys have...
Say that louder. Say that again.
Spallina got the better of him. You guys, I'm sure, have broken that down for several minutes now. But, I mean, Spallina with 4 goals, and again, Coach Tillman brought it up. He said we anticipated them, or we did not anticipate them, rather, putting Spallina closer towards the inside in order to pull Will Schaller closer towards cage. Schaller is a fantastic defenseman, especially when he's a bit further from cage, right, causing disruption a little bit away from the net. But he mentioned that, and Syracuse, he said they were obviously game planning for Will Schaller and for Spallina to get open and get touches. They set screens in order to make sure that Spallina got favorable matchups to get him as far away from Will Schaller as possible. And guess what? They did that. Spallina had 4 goals today against the number 1 defenseman in the country when he was on the same side of the field. Syracuse, coaching-wise and scheming-wise, did their job in this one.
That's a good point. The coaching really seemed like it set up Spallina for success today, and he was so good in that first half especially. 3 goals in the first half.
Exactly.
But there was a point, Ben, in that second half, especially early on in the third quarter, where Syracuse did step off the gas for a moment there. Was the Dome or was there a feeling around that Syracuse could end up blowing this one?
Oh, of course there was. It was always, whenever you looked up at the big board, there was always that #1 Maryland up at the top. So everyone, no matter what the score was always having that in the back of their minds. This is the number 1 team in the country. This is the team that ended our season last year.
Not anymore.
Sure. We're talking about in the game. This is the number 1 team in the country. It's a team that ended SU's season last year. Everyone was scared the entire game, even when SU was up 2 with 40 seconds left to go in the game, right? I wouldn't say that SU stepped off the gas, though. It's crazy how much pull that these 2 players have on the game, but it all came down to the dot in the second half, right? It came down to the face-offs, and when it came to Mullen winning face-offs in the first half, I mean, he won 9 of the first 10 face-offs. He was unbelievable in that first half in those first 30 minutes. Second half, the face-offs were nearly even by the end of the game. That's how bad of a second half it was at the dot for Mullen and company. So that was a big, big difference maker because obviously you lose faceoffs, you get the ball less. We all know that obviously with the sport of lacrosse, and that was a massive, massive X factor in this game and is the reason that I think it was so close. If Mullen continued the dominance that he had in that first half, Syracuse wins this game by 5 or 6 goals, guys.
And the fact that Syracuse only lost the second half by 1, considering Mullen struggles,
right.
A lot of credit to Coach Ordurna's squad, the defensive coordinator for Syracuse men's lacrosse. 11-9 win over Maryland. You want to call in, you want to talk to Ben Chadwick, the infamous Ben Chadwick, you can do so. 315.
Infamous.
Or the famous Ben
goodness.
Chadwick. Sorry. Yeah, sometimes you play that villain card sometimes, you know, when you're joining the dot, you want to talk about one thing. I want to talk about how Joey Spallina was the coolest guy on campus. All right, sorry.
We're giving Ben his flowers.
What is happening here?
We're good.
Back to the point. You know, it's happy belated birthday to Ben Chadwick.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no, yeah.
His birthday was yesterday. I just want to give him a little hard time. 315-443-2011. You can call in. We got about 15 minutes left in the show. Syracuse takes down Maryland 11-9. This Syracuse lacrosse team, the last 3 years with Joey Spallina and Michael Leo and Finn Thompson, Billy Dwan. I can name all the guys if I wanted to. But they've been an emotional squad. Like, they've seen the ups and getting to that semifinal. They've seen the bad moments as well. Winning this game, having it be probably the biggest game of their career that they've won, maybe outside of that quarterfinals last year. How did they react? What was the joy like from them after that final buzzer?
Man, they rushed the field with so much. You would have never guessed that they just played 60 minutes of incredibly physical lacrosse. The way the starters were sprinting onto the field and sprinting towards McCool in cage. It was an unbelievable atmosphere, and there was so much energy that Syracuse had after that game. And, man, I mentioned it was a physical game. I'm sure you guys have talked about this. If not, it was a physical game. These two teams do not like each other at all, right? Syracuse probably more than Maryland in that rivalry, just because Maryland ended SU season last year. I mean, there were multiple scuffles happening on the field, and it was just a very emotional game, like you said, very physical. Some you could say it was a dirty game on both sides as well. A lot of flags flying in the latter half of the game. But yeah, after a ball game like that, especially against the former number one team in the country, yeah, they were rushing the field with a lot of joy and a lot of glee is one way to put it.
That was one thing that absolutely stood out to us, was that intensity level was off the charts. That was something we talked about with a caller earlier on. Was there any player or group on the field that really stood out to you intensity-wise?
Intensity-wise, man, Billy Dwan was very, very intense on the defensive side of the ball for SU. He honestly is the X factor, I would say, when it comes to the intensity for Syracuse. Eric Spanos was another guy from Maryland that was really, really getting into it as the game went on. So was Stamos as well.
Two captains right there, too. You would expect it from those two guys.
You could say you could expect it or you couldn't expect it, right? When it comes to the extracurriculars after plays, you would maybe think that the captains would be holding back and getting their guys, hey, situated, let's calm down here. They were not, right? I mean, they were out there. They were in the scuffles. There was a lot of heated moments going on the field, which, again, is why it tasted so sweet at the end for Syracuse.
It definitely did taste sweet. And we just got a quote from Joey Spallina on the rankings. And, Syracuse beats the number one team in the country. When they're number two, presumably you're going to be number one, unless some really people.
That would be pretty crazy
really
if they weren't.
But he said it means nothing, and that all the rankings mean nothing. That kind of maturism.
I think it's maturity.
Maturity.
It's all right.
I didn't have
getting
a
late here Friday night.
You got a year older
It's
yesterday.
Griffinism.
I'm still waiting to get that year older. I'm still waiting to mature, as the English dictionary says. What does that maturity make you realize about this team?
It's that they have one goal, and that's to win a national championship. If they're really going to go out there, which, again, it is, like you said, the mature thing to say, but not caring about regular season rankings shows you exactly what the end goal is in mind for Syracuse. It reminds me of Fran Brown a couple years ago when Syracuse earned a top 25 ranking in football, and he said, "Oh, I don't care. I'm focused on a championship. I don't care what these AP polls say." Now, did Fran Brown 2 years ago have a better chance at a national championship than Syracuse men's lacrosse does this year?
No.
I wouldn't say so, right? I would say this team has a much better chance
at
actually hoisting that trophy in a couple of months.
Yeah. All right, Ben, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Before you go, though, I want any final thoughts, last words. How are you feeling?
You guys got me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got you, bro.
We got you.
Ben? Maybe not. All right, we'll talk to Ben another time. Really appreciate him for joining the double overtime on WAER from all the way a couple blocks from the JMA Wireless Dome. Syracuse takes down number 1 Maryland, 11-9. Syracuse now about to be the top-ranked team of the land. All the glory that comes with it, according to Joey Spillane, is none, because it's still the regular season. And of the regular season, it sure is.
I respect it from him. I do.
You should respect it from him, because that tells you what this team is focused on. Like, that's been the case. That's been the case. And then we got another one. Joey was asked if things are settled in Maryland. Joey said no. They've beaten up on us the past couple of years. That's what Joey said.
That's great perspective from him, because he knows that if these teams match up again in the NCAA tournament, it's not going to be as easy. So I love that perspective from Joey Spallina.
Having the mindset that it's not over, that there's still work to be done, that's the mindset of a winner. And now we have 10 minutes left in this show. It's time for our final words. And I'm going to go first.
Go ahead.
This is the team. This is the team that not only beat Maryland, not only starting 3-0, not only has the best lacrosse player in the country. This is the team that does something that Syracuse hasn't done since 2009. There's not a lot to it besides that. Will there be adversity? Yes. Will there be ups? Will there be downs? Sure. You go 6 games on the road in a row, and you can't expect there not to be adversity. But when you have a mindset the way Joey Spallina has a mindset, when you have the play of a complete lacrosse team like Syracuse men's lacrosse does, you can't expect anything less than a national championship. And there's 4 words that describe what's going to happen. This is the team. There's been talk about this is the recruiting class. This is the player. This is the community. But no, this is the team.
And this has been the team since this freshman class of Joey Spallina and all of them.
No.
No? I would say that that's what everyone has expected. This is the year.
Is the team. Not
yes,
this is the recruiting class. Not this is the player. This is the team.
And I think, Griffin, this has been the expectation that this year would be the team.
But we didn't know. But now we know this is the team.
Right. There's no more hypotheticals. This is the present. This is the now. And we know this could be the team.
No. You said this could be the team.
I could. Yeah, it could.
This is the team.
Okay. All right. Well, Griffin, I love your optimism. And I
it's not optimism.
do agree with you. I think this is the team.
No,
but
don't think.
Griffin,
this is the team.
Okay. Griffin, I do got to give you some caution here, though, because this Maryland team, coached by John Tillman, going into this year 0-8 against John Tillman since 2011, had not beat him. This is one of the best coaches in all of college lacrosse. Syracuse men's lacrosse got them this time. They broke the curse. First time since 2009. We've talked about it. But the next time that Syracuse plays Maryland, and I do think it will happen, I think it will happen either the semifinals or the national championship. Syracuse is going to match up against Maryland once again. Mark my words. The next time, it's not going to be so easy. I know that for a fact because John Tillman is probably the best coach in the entire country at making adjustments. And he will come up with a game plan to counter this Syracuse team. Syracuse is going to have to come in absolutely firing if they play this Maryland team again. You mark my words on that because this Maryland team, you can never, ever give them anything because they will make you pay if you don't give them, if you give them an inch of anything, they will make you pay. So that's my final word for you, Griffin.
If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's the cliche. We started the show with a cliche. Might as well finish the show with a cliche. But we still got some time. We got about 5 minutes left on the double overtime. Syracuse takes down the number 1 team in the country, 11-9. We wouldn't let you go easy. I really think that this is the team. All right, sorry. Had to get off.
Yeah, I think we got you. We got you the first time.
You got the message? All right. It's important, though. It really is. Because in a time of uncertainty, there needs to be certainty. And you don't know what's going to happen with the chancellor. You don't know what's going to happen with the athletic director. You don't know what's going to happen with the Syracuse men's basketball program. But there is certainty. And the certainty is that this is the team.
It could be.
No.
Griffin,
we got to get you
I'm going to
off this
keep
point.
going
It's
on
not going to be, it could be. This is the team. That's what we saw from this game. The final words is like your sentiment after listening to a game. And what I learned from the game is that this is the team.
I'm not going to keep arguing with you, so we'll go with that.
Okay, fine.
This is the team. We'll go with that.
This is the team, and this is not the end of our coverage here on WAER. We got a broadcast. You have to wait a while. Well, no, we don't. It's tomorrow, February 14th. Syracuse men's basketball takes on SMU. Game time is at 2. McClure Remodeling countdown to tip-off is at 1:30. The double overtime will go all the way up until 6 p.m. with Max Gifford and Jish Sokolsky. Our next lacrosse broadcast is a combined one. Syracuse will take on Harvard. That will be on our HT2 channel. You can catch that on WAER.org or WAER Sports on Twitter. The double overtime will go until 5 p.m. combined with that North Carolina Syracuse men's basketball dot. That will be on 88.3 FM as well as WAER Sports Talk on Twitter, the dot. That will be a fun one. You can always listen to the Ostrom Avenue podcast if you want to hear more about Griffin Bloomstein and all of his amazing hot takes. We had a great episode yesterday.
Real humble over there, host.
Well, you got to be humble. You got to be humble. Sit down. Wow. You're always listening to us here on WAER Syracuse. We got a lot of thank yous to hand out. Our producer, Alex Burstein, for putting up with us. Our engineer, Jason Stalakis, for also putting up with us. Ben Chadwick from Inside the Dome. Happy birthday. Happy belated to my good friend Ben Chadwick. And of course, our WAER Sports Talk desk of Rowan Mastrangelo, Jack Elliott, and my good friend Daniel Herzog. Wow, what a game. Syracuse takes down Maryland. Second-ranked team SU upsets the top-ranked team UMD 11-9 from Inside the Dome. First win over Maryland since 2009. Last time Syracuse won a national championship was 2009. 4 words. This is the team. For my partner, Timmy Weiss, I'm Griffin Bloomstein. It's been the double overtime